Democratic State Representative Michelle Beckley of Carrollton, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, the session starts on Tuesday. And so this is obviously, because of the pandemic, going to look and feel differently than past sessions. And so I'm wondering, how is this going to work for you? What precautions are you taking in your office and on opening day?
Sure. So, we have already got our policy. My staff has been in Austin. So most of my staff is from the district, and then they moved to Austin during session because we have a very busy district office. I also have a retail business that was deemed essential. I don't know why a bird store was, but that's a whole nother topic on what businesses were essential and which weren't. But it was essential, but birds are very susceptible to airborne diseases. So actually setting up protocols for me hasn't been that difficult because I do it in my business on a daily basis. And our store, we had to redo everything, but it's good. It's been doing fine. So for me to set up, the offices are actually way easier to set up than a retail business. And so what we have our protocols, our offices are going to remain closed to the public. And we are going to do Zoom or phone calls, which is what we did through the pandemic. We did a lot of help with Texas Workforce Commission. We also took on, when the Texas Workforce Commission couldn't take all the calls, all my staff who had been working on the census. I had a lot of interns at that time because I really like to pay it forward. So I hire a lot of interns for short terms so they get more into the working in a political office. And so I had 3 interns, which is kind of a lot for the intern and for the interim, but they were working on the census and our numbers turned out really good. So I think that just working with groups and having those 3 extra people to help the cities whenever they needed it, and our census numbers, we did a good census. So but during that time the pandemic hit, so they transferred all over to Texas Workforce Commission, and then we tried to do everything at home. But it's really difficult. It makes everything go so much longer because you can't just say, hey, Ariana, how's this person doing, or that person, a quick question that would take 30 seconds it could take an hour for emails or calling back and forth. So we were in our office. We were lucky in our district office that each person could be in their own room, and that building's not very busy. And so we were very safe. So nobody got COVID, and they all came into the office.
And so what is opening day going to look like for you? Because as you know, on the first day and opening day, typically, everybody is in the big house chamber with their family members. Obviously, it's going to be different this year. Have you decided whether you're going to be in the open chamber, or have there been arrangements made where members can be in their offices instead?
So we can't be in our offices. We can swear in other ways. If we don't feel safe, we can do it. We can even do it at home. We can have an elected official. There are ways to do it. I am still on the fence. I do not have any family. None of my tickets went to family members. I just had staff. They're just holding spots. They're not actually going to go to the chambers. They are just going to stay in their office because I don't need a whole office with COVID. And our office protocols, because now we have new interns, we have that's a smaller office in Austin than we have in our district. So we've set up that, we got the air purifier. We're testing every day. We did get the rapid test, which we will be testing everybody every day. I do have protocols. And then I told my staff, we did give written direction that, you cannot go to eating. You've got to keep yourself pretty isolated. And if you're going to take this job, it was part of the condition of taking the job because I knew we were going to be working in the office. So, and I think that I trust my staff that they'll keep going. The staff that I have now and then the new interns, I trust everybody. Everybody knows that they were given they were talked about it, and then we've given it to them in writing. The office will be closed to the public, well, sort of, just physically closed. I will still take all the Zooms. We have all the Zooms set up. We will take phone calls, any appointments, all the necessary stuff. If a group wants to meet and we can meet outside, on the Capitol grounds, it's a nice day. Austin weather is usually pretty okay during session, for the most part. And so I think we will make other allowances just to keep everybody safe. And we certainly don't want the entire office exposed. And we don't know what the protocols are right now because we have a lame duck speaker, so none of the rules can be voted in, and the incoming speaker hasn't been very vocal. So we've gotten a little bit of information, but not all of it. And then the governor has opened up the Capitol building to the public again. So even though the pandemic, we just had a record, I think we had a record day again, and Austin's now just peaking. We've been peaking up here in the North Texas area for a while. Austin's now just getting to our level. So at the height of the pandemic, we're going to open up the Capitol. It seems ludicrous.
Before I get into the legislative session and your priorities, I just wanted to ask, given what we have seen take place at the U.S. Capitol this week, do you know if there have been any discussions about security at the Texas Capitol, and what concerns do you have, if any?
Well, they closed down the Capitol in Austin that day. My staff had to go home at 3:00. There was a breach or something happened in there, which everybody has kept really hushed. But they closed the Capitol building down, and then I got a notification that they opened it back up.
Did you ever find out more information about
never
that?
Found out and more information, never found out anything. So what people don't, I don't know if people are really aware that what happened in DC happened in other Capitol buildings as well, maybe not to the extent, and obviously the legislators aren't there, so it wasn't such an extent. But my staff, we're over down in the extension, so more than likely they were fine, but it was 3:00 and all that stuff was going on with the Capitol, and I'm like, you guys are not going to get any work done. You've worked hard this morning, go ahead and go home, just be safe, because we don't know what's going on.
And you mentioned the presumptive new speaker, Dade Phelan of Beaumont. Do you know him, and is he someone you are going to support?
I'm on the fence with that. I do not know him, but currently it looks like he's surrounding himself with the same people that Bonin surrounded himself with, what Speaker Bonin did. And he was pretty horrible to me the entire session, mainly just because I flipped the seat and it was one of his friends. So I got penalized for winning my seat, not because of anything that I had done other than winning my seat. So
that's Speaker Bonin you're talking about?
Speaker Bonin and Dustin Burrows. And so I'm a little concerned with the fact that Dade Phelan is surrounding himself with the same people. And I am concerned that Dustin Burrows is not going to, he was part of that. He was actually in that secret recording more than Speaker Bonin was. And I'm concerned that there's going to be no repercussions.
Let me ask you about your legislative priorities for the upcoming session. What are they?
So I'm going to continue. I started running for office because of healthcare. So I have some healthcare bills. We're hoping, maybe we'll get the Medicaid expansion. There's some talk of even Republicans there's bipartisan support, especially during the pandemic. I think we're going to see a lot of healthcare bills. I'm going to continue with some of the ones that I have that are to help small business owners. And when I talk about small business owners, I'm talking about the people with less than 50 employees that are not in the ACA. There's not a whole lot of help for them. And what I've learned, you learn a lot your first session. And what I've learned is the state of Texas tends to give the money to the counties, and then the counties dish it out, and it goes through multiple tiers, but the state is actually not helping those small businesses as much as they're helping the larger businesses. And so I'm geared to that. I have Denton County currently does not have vote centers on election day, and our county judge and county commissioners really have a bill that they would really like to get passed. We just did some wording on the equipment that Denton County is using. That's my legislative priority. So early voting we can do, but we can vote wherever we want to. Election day you have to go to your assigned thing, and it's very confusing. And I mean, this last cycle, I mean, we see it every time, but when you have record turnout like we did in Denton, well, across the state, but our district, I think I had almost 20,000 over 2018 and 2016. And so that's a lot more people voting that's just my district. How many people get to the wrong polling location and then can't vote and then don't vote? We don't know. We won't ever know that number. And so if they can just vote in any place, and they have it in Collin County Dallas County, Tarrant County, this isn't Democratic or Republican. It's just the machines that they're using. They can't request with the Secretary of State because their machines aren't listed. So it's just getting that fixed.
Let me ask you, with regards to Medicaid expansion, have you heard where the governor is on that?
I have not heard where he is on that,
And obviously, the number one priority for any legislative session is passing a budget. How concerned are you that there will be budget cuts because sales tax revenues and other tax revenues have taken a hit because people aren't out spending as much and businesses haven't been open?
Yeah. So it's not as bad as we had originally thought. So it did come up a little bit from the original numbers that we were given. I have been keeping really close ties with people in appropriations and working on the budget to know where we are on that. I know there's a lot of controversy with what the governor's doing with the extra CARES money, and a lot of that is going to help go to that budget because we have to finish up. I think that's where they're planning to do it. That's my understanding, that they can put some of that money into our budget to help the shortfalls. A lot of the things like the TWC they were supposed to redo their whole system, and then the pandemic hit, and they had to use that money to hire more people to answer the phones, and they had more just because of that. So we're gonna have to look at all of that. I hate that there's going to be cuts, but we have to do the budget and we have to deal with reality. Unless we can find money somewhere else, there are maybe some loopholes. But I don't think in the current, how the current status and how the makeup of the state of Texas is that they're going to be willing to do any of what needs to be done, the hard work. What the pandemic has made really, really evident is that all our infrastructure is really, really lagging behind, and it is not up to date. And that's whether it's dishes, which is our health centers, the computer systems are so outdated. Child protective services, you look at the Texas Workforce Commission, people can't even get their driver's license renewed. The simple things that the state government should be doing I don't know what we're going. I was in swimming the other day, and that's when I have my random thoughts, and I'm like, how are we going to catch up on all these people that haven't been able to renew their driver's license, and we were already behind. And because that was our main, before pre-pandemic, all the calls of our office had to do with the Texas Department of Public Safety and people getting their driver's license renewed or having to go there for whatever where they go there for. And those calls didn't stop when the pandemic hit. Then we just got Texas Workforce Commission and then everything else. And I do have a very active office. I probably treat it like a retail business that we're here to help people. I meet with my constituents. We've been doing it on phone or virtually for the most part. I usually do that on Mondays just because that's the time I have. And, I do have a couple bills that constituents have brought to me. So I'm going to try to work on those. Those ones are working. They're working through the ledge right now. I don't have numbers on them yet. That have come up.
Let me ask you one other question, and I do appreciate your time, and that is, do you think that the legislature will be able to continue to fund the commitments made during the last session for public education?
Well, that's the problem. HB3 wasn't funded. HB3, I have not been a big supporter. I was not a big supporter of HB3. I did sign on because it was better than we had. But I think when the final bill came from the Senate and they took the funding out of it, I think that we are now going to have a really huge problem with it. I think we are not going to be able to completely, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to see where the money is and where the numbers are. And it's a little early to see where we are on all of that. But now we have all the pandemic issues on top of that, and the vaccine rollout's not going well, but that's not clear. I think we've got a combination of state and federal problems there. All the counties, being that I'm in Denton County, but I'm on the border of Dallas County is really close. So we get on the Dallas County calls as well. And they're not getting vaccines either. And so we are at least, 4 to 6 weeks behind where we should be. Denton County last week was supposed to have been at 10,000 vaccines received. They'd only received 1,000. And so, and this whole portal that the state put up, I'm in group 1B, and I did get vaccinated through the county. I followed the same rules. I went on the screens, and half of the people that I called aren't vaccinating to the public. So now you have people calling places that aren't vaccinating to the public. So tying up that's not helpful. And then the other ones were out of vaccine and didn't know where they were. And every single place had a different protocol. So there's no uniformity. It's confusing. And then Denton County had 1,000 vaccines, and you had to call in. I managed to call for 30. It took me 30 minutes of redialing the number before I got through, and I happened to get through. I did a drive-through vaccine with them. It was so efficient. They are so set up for it. And I just sent a letter over. They want to be the depot for the vaccines and then get them through the county, because they are set up and they do have the people to make sure we get vaccinated, and the remote. And the drive-through thing was really easy. It was very efficient, really easy. And they've now got an online sign up that they're working on getting, which they couldn't even purchase because they didn't have the protocols that they needed from the state to be able to get with their system. And so until Saturday. So, the counties, I've been critical of my county. I'm the only Democrat in the state legislature there, and they're all Republicans. And so, but they're doing a really good job. County Judge Andy Eads and Dr. Richards, who's our health department, they're doing the best that they can with this vaccine rollout, and they want to get it rolled out in Denton County as much as possible. You had 1,000 vaccines for an estimated 150,000 people. I mean, it's not going well, but yeah, we do need to get that. We are not going to go back to normal until we get herd immunity and we get everybody vaccinated that wants. And I mean, everybody keeps saying that wants to, but if we have a big portion of people that don't vaccinate, we're not going to go back to normal. So, I mean, this virus is, the hospitals are full. They're single digits. ICU beds right now in a region with 4 million people.
Well, Democratic State Representative Michelle Beckley, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and you stay safe.
Okay, you too. Thank you, Jack.